All right, the self-imposed deadline of August 31st for the withdrawal from Afghanistan has passed, but the fallout is just beginning. No one knows the exact number, but most think it is significantly higher than President Biden's acknowledgement yesterday of 100 to 200 Americans left behind in Afghanistan. The president has repeatedly assured the public that he is committed to getting out anyone who wants to leave Afghanistan, but there are reports that are emerging of Americans who have not received the assistance that they were promised. Here's what the president said yesterday in his speech to the nation. Play clip number 5, please. Clip 5, please. All right, we'll get to that clip in just a moment. The president stating, "We remain committed to get them out if they want to come out." Secretary of State Blinken is leading the continued diplomatic efforts to ensure a safe passage for any American, Afghan partner, or foreign national who wants to leave Afghanistan, end quote. That's what the president said. Does America have the leverage to get these Americans out diplomatically? I'm going to be talking about that with my next guest, our first guest, when he joins us, U.S. Senator Ron Johnson of Wisconsin. He is the ranking member of the Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations. In fact, I think we have him now. Senator Johnson, welcome back to Washington Watch.
Hello, Tony. Hope you're doing well.
I am. I want to go first, before I go to the issue that you've specifically raised questions about, and that is the Americans that Chad Robichaux was trying to get out of Afghanistan. I want to get your thoughts on the president's speech yesterday to the nation on the conclusion of the Afghan war and the withdrawal of American troops from Afghanistan.
Well, it's actually jaw-dropping. It was for him to declare the withdrawal an extraordinary success. It's just not facing reality, and that is, of course, one of the problems we have with this administration. Whether it's the crisis on the southern border, the incredible out-of-control deficit spending and increasing of our debt, and now this debacle that is the withdrawal from Afghanistan. He's just not willing to recognize reality. So again, here on planet Earth, that was an unmitigated disaster. And as you pointed out, Chad Robichaux, I spoke with him last Thursday morning, and then he went public with what his group was seeing. That, and let's face it, the administration's actions are not matching their words. This was a group of buses that had made it to one of the gates that was not particularly well guarded by the Taliban, and it included American citizens, children. I think 100 Christians was the report, and they got inside one gate, and the battalion commander, apparently a colonel, said no, the recovery's over, and did not let them in. We've seen other reports now, some real-time texts. A similar type of thing occurring where we had American citizens there. They were waving their passports. They had gotten by the Taliban, and U.S. personnel would not let them on the base. So I can't imagine a U.S. commander in that situation turning them away. So that individual had to be acting on somebody's orders, either a generalized or specific order. And so I've written an oversight letter to Defense Secretary Austin as well as Secretary Blinken, find out how did this happen? Are they investigating this instance? And again, it's just a further indication that the administration's actions are not matching its words, and that should concern all of us when it comes to the refugees coming in here. Are they fully vetted? I have a hard time believing they are.
Now, Senator, in your letter to Lloyd Austin and Secretary of Defense and Secretary of State Blinken, you gave them a deadline of August the 30th to answer your question. I'm wondering if that's a deadline that they were so committed that they had to meet.
No, and that's the problem across the board with oversight. Administration officials simply don't think they have to comply with congressional oversight. And that's a real problem. Our congressional oversight authority and powers have been degraded over the decades because we really have no enforcement power. So the only enforcement power we have is to put public pressure on the administration to come clean and answer a few questions. So hopefully they will feel the need to be honest with the American public. But I'm not holding my breath.
Now, Senator Johnson, let me ask you this question, because yesterday the president addressed this in passing. He said, we may have 100 to 200 Americans that are in Afghanistan, and if they want to leave, we're going to work to get them out through diplomatic means. First off, do you trust that number, that we're looking at just simply 100 to 200 Americans that were left behind?
No, I'm not having a great deal of faith in anything the administration tells us. The other thing, I'm quite sure we left behind people that, Afghanis that risked their lives working beside the finest among us, the members of our military. I know the people in Wisconsin I'm talking to, the former Afghanistan veterans, are just incensed of what is happening here. I mean, not only did they believe we had a national commitment to these people that fought alongside us and are at grave peril inside Afghanistan, but they made personal commitments. So much to the point where, Chad Robichaux, he's not on the military or in the military, but he's a special operations individual who's raised funds for other former special ops personnel. They went over there. They were, outside the wire. They were rounding up
right.
American citizens and other people as well, because they didn't have faith in this administration doing its job.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with Chad, former Marine veteran who is was working over there to get Americans and their allies out of Afghanistan, as many others were doing. There are many, Senator, those that served in Afghanistan now out of the military, committed to the mission and built relationships with those Afghan citizens and members of the Afghan military that helped them, served alongside them, and they know that they're now targets. And so they risk their own lives to go over there and try to help them get out. In the reports I'm getting in my conversations, I'm sure it's the same that you're hearing, they're very frustrated that our own government is standing in the way of them trying to help the very people who helped America.
And I fear the people on the ground there are following the orders of the higher ups, from the president on down. And the other thing, Tony, when we were going through this evacuation, this withdrawal, there were so many people involved in the evacuation that were alarmed at what they were seeing. That, again, the story that the administration was telling just wasn't accurate about how carefully vetted all these people are. That they were reaching out to members of the Senate, members of Congress like myself, and raising the alarm bell and saying we need to be far more careful. We need to be vigilant, and they fear we're not.
Let me ask you this question, Senator Johnson, as you look at the oversight here, and we've seen this from day one, a reluctance to be candid, to allow the oversight process to work. What's next? How do we get answers? What's it going to take?
First, you have to ask the relevant questions, and you have to ask them publicly. Hopefully, Democrats will cooperate and actually hold hearings and call the administration officials before Congress. We're having, I just got off an all-Senate call with the top administration officials, but they're really not. It's just the same old rhetoric, telling us the exact same thing, saying the right words, but again, we're finding out their actions aren't following their words, and we need to be concerned about what are the short-term and long-term ramifications of what I consider this to just be a disastrous decision. I don't think we ever should have completely pulled out of Afghanistan. We should have left special operations personnel in Bagram Air Force Base. It's a key Air Force base. It's strategically located. Why would we want to give that up, and why would we completely drop all of our support for the Afghanistan security forces who were fighting and dying for their own freedom?
Right, and we did not have that many military personnel there that was holding the Taliban at bay and keeping peace, and as you said, securing a very strategic airstrip for us. Senator, we're out of time, but I do want very quickly one last question. Are you concerned about the threat that Americans may now face with what has unfolded there in Afghanistan?
I am. You now have a country where you can have Al Qaeda, you can have ISIS. People want to kill us. They can plan pretty much unmolested. This over the horizon capability is let's put it far less effective than having a base right there. And then I am concerned about the vetting process of these tens of thousands of people. Again, a lot of them, I'm sure, are folks we do want to successfully integrate, but we need to be very careful.
Yeah, I share that concern. Senator Ron Johnson, as always, great to talk with you. Thanks so much for coming on the program today.